Welcome to a bonus episode of the Connexus Church audio podcast. My name is Carey Nieuwhof, founding pastor of Connexus Church. And if you were here or listened online or via podcast to part 4 of this current series, you heard an amazing message from Levi Lusko. And it was all about the loss of their 5-year-old daughter a few years ago. And I was there at Connexus Church the day we shared this message. It was an emotional moment, an emotional service, and many of you had feedback. And I had the privilege recently of sitting down with Levi Lusko and his wife, Jennie, and talking to them a little bit more about the loss of their daughter, how they got through it. And we wanted to share that very special, very moving interview with you as a way of just coming around, all of us who have experienced loss and who identified with Levi and Jennie's story. So without much further ado, here is a conversation I had with Levi and Jenni Lusko about everything they've been through and how they found God's promise in the midst of the pain. Well, it's a real thrill to have Levi and Jenni Lusko here together today. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. What a joy.
We've discovered that one of the common things we have in common is, if you can say that, is barbecue. You love to barbecue, right? I found that out.
I'm learning the skills. I would say
You like to eat it.
I'm an apprentice and you're a Jedi. So we have to come up along the way.
Well, we're working on it, but it is one of you married well then. If Jennie loves to eat barbecue, my wife, who's like extremely healthy, just loves barbecue. And I'm like, yes, that is a gift from the Lord. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 nights ago, we had on our barbecue grill lake trout from Flathead Lake that we caught that day. And we had moose steaks that our dentist shot personally on a hunt. And so we made moose fajitas and had lake trout for dinner. So that was our barbecue the other day.
I don't think it gets any better than that, does it?
I know.
Moose fajitas is a whole nother level of great.
And to know that your dentist can shoot a moose is like, that must be really comforting as well. I don't know.
It's comforting, a little disturbing. He actually told us he took a bite out of the liver raw in the field. Says it's fine as long as you don't, let blood run into it first. We were like, okay, sir, you are a savage.
Wow.
He's our kid's dentist. Clear.
That's
He said, because I said, do you like your meat rare? And he said, yeah, you could say that. I've been known to take a bite from the liver in the field. I was like, that's dances with wolves kind of level stuff, my friend.
Oh,
wow. I don't even know what to say. So, what we're talking about this week for book launch week in my little world, and we'll be talking about your book in a few months here, Levi, but we're talking about things we didn't see coming. And I bet you never, ever thought you'd have a dentist who eats raw liver for
And let
pleasure.
me just say to all the vegetarians listening today, we are sorry.
Well, there are so many things in life and leadership, and you guys are right in the middle of it right now. You have a growing family, you have growing locations, growing campuses. There's just so many things that you never thought you'd be here. And Pastor Levi, like when in an episode that will air later, we filmed it earlier, you talked about like Montana. Who would have ever guessed you would end up in Montana? But here you are, a few years later with a growing, thriving ministry in multiple states. What are some of the things that you just thought, wow, I just never expected that?
I don't think we expected much of any of this. I mean, we just wanted to serve the Lord and wanted to tell people about Jesus because he changed both of our lives. And we look around almost every day at our lives like, what is this life? Like, what in the world? And we're just such believers in the fact that when you follow Jesus, you don't have to follow your dreams because he'll make your dreams follow you. Mm. And, I think there's so many young people today that have such an angst over full bucket lists, and their expectations over what their life should look like because of unrealistic expectations based on Instagram, et cetera. Right. And we're seeing our dreams come to pass, but not by following them. We've just been trying to follow Jesus, and we're watching him do things better than we could have ever planned.
Right. It's like, maybe we had dreams of one day planning a church somewhere, but the way God has unfolded things has just been, like you said, like way more than what we could have even dreamt up ourselves. And so it is a beautiful thing when you're following Jesus and following his will and just loving the day to day. You look back and you see his faithfulness and you see, wow, you've brought me so far that I could never have taken myself if I was chasing my own dreams.
Yes, that I love how you started that, because sometimes the things you don't see coming are the good things as well as the bad things, right? Like that wow, how do we get here, and how is this even our life? One of the things, and I'm grateful you're willing to talk about it. I think a lot of people know about your story is you had one of the deepest tragedies I think anybody can imagine, and certainly parents can imagine, in that a few years ago you lost your 5-year-old daughter, Lenya, to an asthma attack. I'm also an asthmatic, so I can relate to that, and it's a miracle. My parents thought they had lost me numerous times, and the worst possible thing that could happen for a parent, I think, happened. And you guys have talked very publicly about it, written a book about it, Through the Eyes of a Lion. Can you tell us, just for people who may not be familiar with that part of your story, just a little bit about what happened? And then I would love to talk to you about how you got through that.
Well, it was Christmas time, so it was 5 days before Christmas, December 20th, 2012, and we were getting ready. I mean, in our home, getting ready for Christmas it's a big deal, because we lead a church, so we're getting church services ready, and we have a family. At that point, we had 4 daughters, and we were doing Christmas wrapping, Christmas gift wrapping, and just kind of that normal stuff. But that day, Levi had been studying all day for his Christmas message. And so that night we were wrapping presents, just kind of a normal night. We had just had a date night, which is kind of in our rhythm of life. Thursday nights is our date night. And I had dropped all the kids off at my mom's house. And it's interesting, because we pulled up after wrapping gifts. We pulled up to my mom's house, and Levi mentioned, he looked over to me and he mentioned, I've never felt so relaxed as I do right now. Like he said that. And I walked into my mom's house and found our daughter Lenya. My mom was trying to give her asthma medicine, and Lenya looked at me, and then she just fell back on the counter and lost consciousness. And so at that moment, Levi ran in and he started CPR, and we were praying, and we were just like, it was so shocking and so out of nowhere. And I didn't even understand what was happening. And and Lenya's lying on the counter, and we're crying out, and Levi's doing mouth to mouth. And then all of a sudden, like, the paramedics come, and she's not responding, and she's lying on a stretcher. And I'm just even flashing back. It's like all these pictures of, like, I'm holding our youngest baby at that point, who was Clover, as a 1-year-old, and trying to comfort our other daughters. And then Levi's going into an ambulance with Lenya, and she's 5, and it's the cold of winter. And all of a sudden we're in a hospital room, in the waiting room, and the doctor comes up to us and says, "We're sorry, but there's nothing more we could do." And it was just, we couldn't believe what we were hearing. We couldn't believe what we were experiencing. It was so shocking, and we never, ever, ever saw that coming. And literally, from going from an amazing date night where we're getting ready for Christmas, the happiest time of the year, and we're enjoying each other and getting ready to celebrate our kids. The next day, we had a fun family day planned where we were going to do our ice skating, and Levi was going to take Lenya out so she could go Christmas shopping for her sisters, because she had saved up money so she could go. Like, we had our plan. Christmas was coming. The day after Christmas, we were going to Disneyland as part of our kids' Christmas present, and we did not see it coming, and it just rocked our lives.
I remember when I heard you teach on this, you said, the day that you were supposed to be flying to Orlando, you were at the funeral home. And I can't imagine. I mean, as you're sharing this, I'm fighting back tears. There is nothing, I think, more frightening, more devastating to a parent than the loss of a child. And I have not been through it, but I have had more than enough friends who have, and it's just tragic. I mean, and What were those first, what was that first week like? Like, I'm sure looking back on it, do you ever feel like it's like, how did that ever happen? Or like, what were the emotions you were processing? Because you're also people of faith, right? Like, we believe that God can heal. We believe that God can change things. And this happens. Like, what were you going through in that season?
When we look back at photos from that week, it's hard to believe how we survived it. Honestly, we're looking at ourselves. You can just see like our eyes are gaunt, and we're just we couldn't eat. There were several days where we couldn't keep food down. It just, as a parent, having a child. I think Dr. Meg Meeker is the one who said having a child is like having your heart outside of your body, walking around in clothes, falling down and scuffing its knees, going to school. The first day of school. So that's already so scary, having a kid. Like, you're always like, and that's why parents make the mistakes of wrapping their kids up in knee pads and helmets to get an ice cream cone, because we just care so much. It's a mistake, but it's a mistake born of a good intention. And so when you have a child go to heaven, it's like having an arm amputated, because you still feel everything. They say if your arm gets cut off tomorrow, you'll have phantom pain. You'll feel pain in a hand that's not there anymore. And when your kid's gone, all those same instincts are still firing. Protect my child, take care of my child, who is with my child. I mean, we want a criminal background check our babysitters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so where I was at was, it wasn't like, is my daughter okay? I know she's okay. I know she's in heaven. But my thing is like, I want to know who's watching her. I need references. You know what I mean? Like, who's watching her in heaven? What's that like? Where's the logistics?
Just wandering around.
Is she getting dinner? I mean, she's 5. I assume Abraham and Esther's there, but is she with Ruth till 4 and then Esther till 8 p.m.? Like, that's where I'm thinking. And so we were like, every nerve in our bodies firing off messages to take care of our daughter. We have no ability to act on those things anymore, because now that's in God's hands. What gave us great peace was her dedication. God gave, God took away, but blessed be the name of the Lord. And I tell parents, don't you dare miss out on the opportunity to dedicate your child to the Lord at birth, because should God forbid something happen to them, you'll be able to look back on that and say, well, she was never ours. She was always God's. So what we said was, hey, look, we didn't think it was going to be so brief, but we were faithful to honor God with her as long as she was in our home, but she was never ours. So we couldn't, and I think that helps with your heart on like being mad, because if God chose to take her home through death, which is not his plan, but he chose to overcome it, to use it to do his good, which is what we believe about it. Well, God was always the one who owned her. We were just the stewards. And so now she's back with God. So as we look back on it, it was savage. I mean, I won't lie to you at all, Carey. It was very hard. It was very dark moments, very low lows. However, throughout it all, there's the theme of miraculous supernatural power. So, things like getting up to, I preached that Christmas service 2 days later. I had written a message that day, and I felt like part of the way to honor her was to preach that sermon. So getting up in front of our church and preaching, et cetera, et cetera. I eventually took a month off, and we traveled some and just healed and sought out counsel and all that. But that first initial time, it was just like adrenaline, fear, faith, pain, and power all mixed up.
How did you preach 36, 48 hours later?
I would say instinct and muscle memory, probably, and God's power. I mean, but honestly, we felt like, Jennie said this, I had spent the day writing a message. And so it felt right. If Jesus did come into this world to save sinners, if Jesus did come to defeat death, what better way to celebrate and like almost like laugh in the face of the enemy than to preach a message that I still believed, even in the darkest day of our lives? Because that was ultimately when push came to shove, everyone likes to think we believe, but you find out what you believe when you really are hurting. So what we found was, even on the bottom, we believed these things. And so it's one thing to declare God's good when life is good, but when life's bad, but you can still declare he's good, I think that's the great vindication of our faith.
Right. And I think also, like Levi mentioned, it was instinct. It was like muscle memory. Like our normal was coming to the house of God, like regardless of what was happening in our life. Yes, we're leaders and pastors, but it's who we are. And so to have that, like, we were consistently coming to God's house. It was like, why would we not when the bottom drops out? And also, I mean, one thing that we like to share too is that our hearts were prepared as much as we weren't prepared for this. We were, in a sense, because as we even were, our hearts were in heaven, like what the Bible says, your heart is where your treasure is. So even as we were giving of our time, of our money, of who we are to Jesus, to the kingdom, it was like we were sending treasure for Lenya to see when she got there. So it's almost like God is preparing our hearts in a way. But honestly, one of the things that helped me so much was the fact that we still had 3 little ones. I mean, our oldest, Olivia, was 7, Daisy was 2.5, and Clover was almost 1. And I would like to say I would have still gotten up in the morning, but I feel like I probably would have just stayed in bed if I didn't have little ones I needed to get up and take care of. And so I feel like having little ones where it just forced me, I need to feed Clover. I need to hold Livy. I need to take care of Daisy. It forced us we just had to keep going. We had to get up. We had to keep loving. We had to keep giving, where maybe our natural instinct would be to curl in and shut people out and just be focusing inward. We had to keep focusing outward. And some of the things that we were teaching our kids about in those moments, telling Livy, Lenny is not as far as it seems, because if Jesus is truly in our hearts and Lenny is with Jesus, there's a nearness. And so we would act it out where we'd be on the corner of a wall and Levi would be on the other side and we would be on this side and we wouldn't be able to see him. But then we would have Olivia kind of be on the corner holding Levi's hand and holding my hand. And we'd be saying, because of Jesus, Jesus is holding Lenya's hand. Jesus is holding our hand. He's in our hearts. He's with us. There's such a nearness. And even though we can't see her, we're near. And even though we can't see Jesus, he's near. And so these little things that were helping us explain, I mean, we didn't know a lot. We knew what the Bible said, but even coming days, Levi would be just studying the word about what it means, like in between here and heaven, like what does this even mean? But the things that we were trying to teach our kids was actually really teaching us. And one of the things of even reading a kid's Bible, like in those moments, even now still, as we're reading our kids' Bible to our kids, like God is using just those simple truths to totally minister to us and remind us that it's just the simple faith in Jesus Christ and holding on tightly. And so I would even say in those things, kids' Bibles are so helpful, honestly, when you're just at the bottom. If you just open up a kid's Bible, it just brings it the simplicity.
I'd catch Jennie reading the kid's Bible by herself. I mean, honestly. And didn't Jesus say, of such for the kingdom of heaven, and you got to be like a child? I think that childlike faith, I believe in Jesus, like that's enough to sustain you more so than the nuances of the Hebrew language and some finer points of theology. It's just the simple, Jesus is a life preserver. Yes. You're hanging on to him so you don't drown. At the end of the day, that's the deal.
There's a tension, I think, with every grieving family between grieving and really understanding what happened and moving forward, right? Because some people get stuck in their pain and they never really get out of it. And then other people just seem to blow past it, but they don't really process it and it comes back years later. How did you navigate that journey between really accepting, processing what had happened, and yet moving on to a life that still had, I think for you guys, there's sadness, but there's been some great moments of joy. You wrote a book, you preached, you've helped countless people through this, and you are alive even without her. That is not always the story. Can you walk us through how you navigated that?
Well, I appreciate your kindness. I mean, it's definitely I think you see the good moments on the internet. You see the great moments. When a book comes out. But I try to always be honest that we're in process. We're not some bright shining examples of people who have nailed it. We have bad days. We have low days. We have hard days. Right. And what we've tried to do is the end of my book, Through the Eyes of a Lion, talks about running toward the roar. And that's a concept from big game hunting in Africa because of how lions hunt. And we read this book, Death in the Long Grass. And it's all about how lions, hunt and leopards hunt, et cetera. And one of the standout moments was this idea of lions roaring to chase prey towards ambush, where the lionesses will hide in the grass and basically the wildebeest run away from the sound of the roar, not knowing that's actually not the danger because it's not the men, it's the women that do the hunting. Like in real life, it's the women do all the work. So it is in our church. So anyhow, this gazelle or wildebeest running away from it's what it's scared of towards death. And what we realized was whatever we're afraid of, if we run from it, we're only going to be continually being chased by our fears. Because if you confront it, though it will be scary like crazy for a moment, you at least don't have to live a life of fear because anything you face no longer can sneak up on you. So we made the decision, even down to that night, Jennie, when we got in the car after the ER night, the evening in the ER, she told me, you need to go back in there and you forgot to invite those people to church. She said that to me. You forgot to invite those people to church. Linnea would want you to. And I'm just like, this is where you're at. We are a world apart. I'm nowhere near spiritually thinking about the souls of the ER staff, but that's where she was at. And so she pushed me in there. So I was like, I can't go back in there. But again, running toward the roar, whatever I felt least like doing, that was kind of what we did. Go in there and invited those people. And the respiratory therapist and one of the two of the paramedics ended up coming based on the invitations and responding, making faith decisions at Christmas. That was powerful. The story of Linnea's eyes that caused there to be a book, Through the Eyes of a Lion. We ended up making the decision to donate her corneas for organ transplant that night. And we prayerfully made that decision together, and 2 blind people received sight. It would have been much easier to say, no, you're not cutting into our daughter's body. Forget that. But we made the decision to run toward the roar and do what we least felt like doing. And on it goes. I mean, when the hospital a week later sent a bag of all of her clothes that she had been wearing that night, they sent her death certificate in the mail, all those things. You just feel like, no, I don't want to open this. I don't want to touch this. We just chose, I'm going to embrace it. We're going to smell it. We're going to cry over it. And then we're going to, some of those were cut up by the paramedic scissors. We couldn't keep them anyway. All of her clothes. I think one of the booby traps of mourning is turning your house into a living shrine where it's like, don't go in that bedroom. That was Linnea's bedroom. She last slept in that bed. We don't touch, the clothes are hanging in the closet. It's almost as though you're waiting for them to come home still. And I think all that does is it delays the grieving process and keeps you from healing. So we just said, look, Linnea's not coming home. She's not going to ride her bicycle. She's not going to wear these clothes again. We'll go to her. She won't come to us. So we're going to cry over her clothes, smell them one last time to smell her on, but then wash them and wait for their sister to grow into them. And we'll celebrate when we see her sister wearing them. And then eventually, as hard as it is, we're going to give them away to our friends who just had a baby. And we'll just celebrate that shirt's going to get worn again and not have a closet full of booby traps.
Which is hard. And I will say, as the mom, that is a really hard thing to do because even now I'm still going through boxes of things that I honestly still have a box of things that I have a hard time getting rid of because they're special.
But we don't have a closet full of them.
Right. And it's actually just the other night. So we had a baby boy since Lenny went to heaven. His name's Lennox. And he's a sweetheart and Linnea would love him. Yeah, he's
named after her. So his initials are the same as hers.
Yeah, L-A-L. Lennox Alexander Lusko. But anyways, where his crib is where Lennea's bed was when she went to heaven. Her bed was right there. So on the other side of that wall is our bedroom. And Linnea was a wild and wonderfully crazy child. But at night she would kick the wall. And the other night Lennox was being crazy and he was kicking the wall. And I'm lying there in bed and I'm just crying. I'm just like, what a special, crazy, weird thing. Obviously I'm probably the only one that would hear it. But just those little things that you just embrace and then you keep walking and you embrace and you keep walking and God's faithfulness in those little things.
That's powerful. I was just trying to say that I think the decision to face some of that down is responsible in part for the healing.
Totally, I agree.
Because, you have to deal with it eventually.
Yeah.
And it's going to come out now, or it's going to come out in the alcohol addiction, or it's going to come out in the marriage blowing up, or it's going to come out in the gambling or whatever you need to get you through it.
Right.
So I think it's hard we talk to a lot of grieving parents. We're a magnet for them now because of our story. And we always tell them, as hard as it is, when you do what you least feel like doing, you force that confrontation now on your terms, as opposed to it sneaking up on you down the road.
Right.
And when you do that, it may kill you. And I always say that it may kill you. Because it'll feel like it's going to kill you.
Right.
And it may kill you. But if it doesn't, at least you don't have to live a life of fear.
It's very emotional to hear you talk about that without being too personal. And if it's an appropriate question, just let me know. But there's a lot of people struggling with grief who maybe are not moving on. What does a bad day look like for you now? And how do you move through it?
Yeah, well, I feel like bad days in regard to Lenya not being with us anymore. Yeah. I feel like those, sometimes it just overtakes me.
We have a long list of ways we have bad days, Carey. You'll have to be.
Oh yeah, it's not restricted to losing a child. It's like it's called Thursday, right? Thursday's a bad day.
Whole new book about the other ways we have bad days. We're local church people. Yes.
But I guess specifically with Lenya, like I recall a day we were traveling, like, and after she went to heaven, we kind of went after it, like more than we ever had. We are a traveling family. We love, Levi will speak at churches. I sometimes do. We bring our family with us because we love getting to travel and do life and ministry with our kids. And so as much as possible, we travel together as a family. And so in the days after Lenny went to heaven, we were kind of just like saying yes to whoever said, come speak at our conference, our church. Like we were just like, whatever we can do to make the devil pay, to bring the gospel to more people, to use the pain that God's allowed in our lives for his glory, we would say yes to. So we were just like traveling all the time. I remember this specific day where we were in California, and for the most part, for Levi and I, for the most part, our grief was very in sync. There were some days where he was like doing great and I was doing worse. And we just made the decision to kind of let grace just kind of let us flow. Yeah. And if we weren't where the other one was, we were just there. Yep. But on this particular day, we were not on the same page. We did not like being on this. We were just not liking each other. And I remember just walking away from the car down a neighborhood, in our friend's neighborhood, and just like yelling at him. And then I was just like crying out to God and yelling, and it was not pretty. And I, even admitting it now, I was like, yeah, it was not a good moment, but it was a bad moment. It was a bad time. But I think knowing that we can feel the things that we're feeling, that we can know that, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm angry at sin. I'm angry that Lenny is not here with us. I'm angry at my husband. I'm just angry. And walking in that, I was walking around the block, and by the time I came back, I just felt like God had just allowed me to breathe in and breathe out and be, okay, God, I hate this so much, but you are good. But you have a plan in this. But Levi and I are not enemies in this. We are on the same team. And so I feel like just acknowledging that it's not going to be easy and it's going to be hard. But like Levi was saying, like walking in it and through it is really the only way. You cannot avoid it. You cannot try to walk around it or over or under it. You have to walk through it. And I think as you're walking through it, God will show you his love. He will show you his strength. He will give you everything you need. It's as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And I think it's just remembering that you're not alone, and God is with you, and he loves you, and he sees you, and he created you, and he knows exactly what you're going through more than anyone else, more than your husband, more than your wife, more than your mentor, more than your counselor. God knows everything. And so he just wants us to run to him. Why? In the why in the worst part of our lives would we run to anything, anyone else, than to the God who created us, to the God who loves us, and to the God who has a purpose and a plan in the pain for us?
Yeah, I would echo that. With my bad days, didn't look like Jennie's bad days. Like she mentioned, there were rhythms to it.
Yeah. And
we found it was that my bad days were usually where I wasn't giving her the space to have her sort of bad day. Mm-hmm. I'm ENTJ, commander, forward thinking, strategic execution and vision. So I do pretty good at keeping morale up in my heart. So as far as like, we're going to be fun, we're going to make it through this. But what that led, I would say the days I'm least proud of were the days where I wasn't gentle to allow her to be the space where she was at, and wanting to rush her through to get to where I was at. And so what that inevitably led to was conflict, and her being hurt and her being sad. And so I think the more we've recognized that we're different, the way we hurt's different, the way our needs are different, and then giving each other the grace and the room to get to where we each are at. And we've sought pastors out, like I mentioned, a lot of them, and we have some amazing ministry friends who we've been very transparent to as far as the vulnerabilities, the anger, the sadness. We've been able to get that off our chest. But then we've also, even in the last year, sought some professional help to be able to get some counseling together. And that's been very helpful to unload some of the things Jennie mentioned, the first year, the aggressive preaching. And I think part of that was just, yes, we wanted to make the devil pay, but part of it was just the no, like, I'm going to stay busy, and some of that debatably healthy. And so we've just I feel like we're at a good spot now within our local church community, and the team we have, the healthy spot we're at, our marriage and all that. So it's definitely a journey. And I always tell people, when you're right up in it, it's hard to believe you'll ever feel good again. Mm-hmm. It's hard to believe you'll ever sing again. It's hard to believe you will ever dance again. Mm-hmm. But just keep moving forward, and don't let the immensity of the journey keep you from taking the crucial next step.
Yes. So good.
I'm so grateful for how you've helped just so many people by being so honest and so transparent. I have helped a lot of, or tried to help a number of people through the loss of a child, but haven't gone through it. And I know that is a real difference. So as we wind down, for those of us who haven't gone through it, as you think back on your last 5 years, what are some things that friends did that were so helpful? And then what would you counsel the rest of us to go, please just don't. Please don't say that. Please don't do that. I would just love to know what really helped and honestly what hurt.
Yeah, that's a really great question, because you don't know it until you're in it. And I will say that the people who were in our lives, they were amazing because they were there, and God just brought so many people. I honestly felt spoiled because we were getting letters, and we were getting calls like left and right from people all across the world, really. But I just want to say the people who walk people through difficulty are amazing. And I just want to say, for any of you who have walked through someone or walked with someone through pain and through grief, or you are right now, God has given you such a place for such a time as this to be strong for someone who's weak, and to be God's love in a place where maybe they just feel dry. And so keep doing it. But honestly, the people who were just there, we had 2 couples who came over that night, and they were just there with us. They honestly didn't say anything. They just hugged us. They wept with us. They just said, "We're so sorry.
We love Lenya.
We love Lenya. And honestly, they didn't even pray for us. And that might sound shocking, but honestly, the people who were just there, I knew that they were praying for us, but I didn't want anyone to pray like right there with us.
Like someone coming up behind someone and putting their hand on, let me pray for you right now. That unless they ask for it, I don't know that necessarily is really helpful. Mm-hmm. I think when presence is there and you can sense in their spirit they're praying, or they write that in a note, in the moment, I think when someone is ready for that, they'll ask for that. I think it can be challenging when someone's trying to drop verses on you. The worst would be when someone's like, I find it off-putting when people try and tell me, I had a vision of your daughter and she was wearing a purple dress. And I'm like, I just would also find that really off-putting. And maybe it's true, maybe it really happened, but that I don't, as I look back, find great comfort in those words from the Lord in that way. But the steady kindness and the consistent.
Even just the practical, like showing, like giving a meal. Like one family just gave us a blanket, a box of tissues, and a note saying, "We love you. We're praying for you. God is whatever it was." But it was like just those practical things of like, okay, I can snuggle my family in a blanket, and we need these tissues. And that is one thing that is actually funny, because we never knew that when you are grieving, that all of your clothes, when you wash them, are going to have little bits of tissue on them, because you forget to take the tissue out of your pockets. And then there's just everywhere.
Your tissues in every pocket of every pair of pants you wear for weeks.
But I think that's just a huge, huge thing of just feeling the moment and just your presence, not rushing in with words necessarily, but if the moment presents itself, like having a verse to text or like that, those are one of the powerful things.
Text verses in the night. Holly Furtick would send Jennie text messages in the night for a long time, and it would always come at the perfect time. And those little things, when you need them, they're there, and you go to them. And when you're willing and ready to read people, I think empathy is such an underrated value in leadership. Obviously, crucial to every part of it. But when you can just read someone and know what the right word is, what the right response is, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been so rich and so helpful. You do have the book In the Eyes of a Lion, and we'll link to that in the show notes as well. And then if people want to connect with you guys, what's a good website or a place where they can find you online?
Probably easiest would just be freshlife.church or levilusko.com. What's your website?
I don't have one anymore.
Jennie doesn't have one.
It's there, but it's a very lonely place.
Does it have a GIF of a construction worker doing construction?
Oh, yeah. Or maybe it says 404 or something like that. Yeah, that's right. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate this. And I know you've helped a lot of people. And just thanks for being willing to talk about this with so many leaders. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Carey.
Thank you so much, Carey.
You can catch the entire series here on the audio podcast and, of course, on our website at connexuschurch.com. And, of course, join us every weekend at 9 and 10:30 a.m. at our locations in Barrie, Midland, and Orillia as we continue to introduce people to a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. Thanks for listening, and I really hope this touched you as much as it touched me.